show you this from Milo, visualized almost every conservative James Lindsay has called woke right.
Am I on there yet?
Let's find out. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to read. I love this because you've got reactionary and Baptists. I don't know what that is. Random.
Bronze Age pervert.
Oh, okay. Tradcaths, Christian. Get this stupid fly. Get out of here. Paleocons, philosophers, miscellaneous right-wingers, British right, national conservatives, organizations, anonymous individuals, groypers, mainstream MAGA, anti-interventionists, and anti-Zionists.
Lady Maga's on there. That's literally a drag queen.
Indeed. So this is why James Lindsay really does, I think, exemplify why, or at least, look, it's just my argument. Maybe I'm wrong, but I view woke as the cult-like adherence to liberal orthodoxy. James Lindsay's goal right now is, he's a liberal guy. He's always been a liberal guy. He doesn't like conservatives. He has outright stated his principal enemy is national conservatism. He calls any and everyone who is against him woke right, because woke is a buzzword that is a negative connotation. He is accusing his enemies, that of which he does. He blocks people on X and refuses to argue with them because his arguments are bad. That's what woke people do. He is basically saying, I don't care if it's right. I don't care if it's true. If you are my enemy, I will seek to damage you unless you adhere to what I demand you adhere to. Now that we've seen, Cracker Barrel, Jaguar, Bud Light, Target take massive hits over perceived wokeness. That is varying degree. Like even Jaguar was interesting because it was not political. It was contemporary art, but it was reminiscent of gender theory, even without even explicitly being gender theory. That's all that it took for Jaguar to get in trouble. Not to mention the electric car idea was, let's get rid of all the high-end cars for the wealthy people we like. What James is doing, recognizing the power structures of cult-like adherence and the fear that these communitarians, I guess you'd call them, these are people on the left and liberals. They don't care what's true. They care about fitting in. James Lindsay seeks to exploit this by creating an enemies list and using the term woke because woke has a sour taste in everybody's mouth. The reason why he's redefining woke is because, as I've stated, the lowest common denominator of wokeness is cult-like adherence to liberal orthodoxy. He needs to apply woke to the right to break that message so that woke becomes something very specific that doesn't apply to him when he uses their tactics to take over the left.
When he first started to saying woke rat, I was thinking that he was just trying to talk about people that he considered like what would amount to fascists, and he just didn't want to use that term.
Well, he then said woke fascist.
Well, yeah, but he's obviously expanded it far beyond anyone that would.
Well, his attempt to intellectualize it was saying that any adherence to identity politics makes you woke.
Except these people don't do that.
Precisely.
So what James Lindsay did, it's not working, by the way.
All politics is identity politics.
Sure. But the point is, like, he was saying, hey, woke people are saying, like, our people this and our people that. There are some people on the right who do that. And then a bunch of conservatives were like, hey, they are doing that. And they think the Jews are the problem. And then James Lindsay went, got him, and started grabbing random people who don't believe that and putting the label on them like alt-right was. In the early days, alt-right people believed that it meant like an alternative to mainstream conservatism. They did not know that it meant white nationalist. So a bunch of regular people were tweeting that they were alt-right. They were like, yeah, because people genuinely use it to convey you were anti-establishment conservative. Then the AP came out with a style guideline saying alt-right means you're a white nationalist and want a homeland for white people. Retroactively, every tweet was then pulled up by the mainstream media saying, here's Mike Cernovich saying he's a white nationalist, despite the fact that's not what it meant. This is James Lindsay's play. Woke was just the tactics and the cult-like adherence they had for liberalism. He knows this, so he needs to take that word, apply it to the right to create an enemies list using the exact same tactic, and then he can say, that's not us, we're doing something different. He's basically saying, I will try to destroy you, and it's not working, but this became very obvious early on. When the first arguments were, Nick Fuentes is woke right. Why? He believes that there are oppressors and the oppressed, and he thinks the Jews are oppressing him. He's identified an identity group targeting his identity group, much like the critical race theorist did. He found this similarity. And then a bunch of conservatives went, oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. They do kind of act the same. The problem is the argument that a powerful group oppresses a smaller group or an oppressed group makes you woke is overly simplistic because there's always going to be hierarchy in class.
Right.
Look at the lobsters.
That's just the law of the Middle East. If you're a minority group in the Middle East, you will be oppressed at some point in time.
Indeed. And so what we're seeing now is this list of people of varying ideologies being labeled woke, when James Lindsay's true strategy is, I need to make it painful to defy my liberal orthodoxy.
It is really funny seeing like Yoram Hazony.
I guess I'm woke right now just by being there.
Mary Morgan's on there. There's Mary.
shout out.
Robert Barnes. I love this.
They put Chris Rufo
Chris
on there.
Rufo?
It's like nicest guy.
I love this. Can we zoom in? Oh, that's too much zoom in.
It's a good reading list. Like,
Yeah, this is just
Christian nationalists, and he tried making the claim first that Christian nationalists were.
he actually said that Stephen Wolf's book calls for like Christian fascism, and then he admitted he hadn't read the book when he reviewed the book, and he just read a bunch of reviews about the book. I read the book. Look, I disagree with Wolf on a bunch of theology. Like, he thinks that nations existed in the Garden of Eden, for example. It doesn't make him a fascist.
Brianna Morello.
I mean,
And it's funny because Milo's like, there's not even an exhaustive list, right? Sargon of Akkad, Carl Benjamin,
Yeah.
woke right.
Carl had a great reply to this the other day, by
did he
the way,
say?
which I may or may not have slightly fed to him. When when James said, "Oh, Carl believes in collective rights. What are collective rights?" and he goes, "Well, ask Israel. If it's good enough for Israel, it's good enough for my country. Thank you very much. If Israel's a homeland for the Jews, then it can defend themselves. England should be a homeland for the English. America should be a homeland for heritage Americans, and Europe should be a homeland for the respective Europeans. Maybe even the Germans. We might let them get away with it." So that is what he got James on, because Israel exists at the fault line of the post-war economic order as the contradiction to liberalism. And I think actually, they've got a solid model of national sovereignty. I just want what they have, rather than the liberalism that James Lindsay is trying to enforce on my country, despite knowing nothing about it.
Look, Homath. Do you guys know Homath?
Yeah.
Homath is an anonymous creator who is just talking about dating and and sex dynamics. I don't think I've ever seen anything from Homath where he's talked about nationalism, Israel, collectivism. He's literally just talked about typical, like, with all due respect to Homath, a lot of what he makes is standard science of sex stuff. Like, if you read a book on human mating practices and stuff, he just draws pictures and shows it.
He's just David Buss with crayons. That's it.
He's woke right. So yeah, it is kind of sad, but not really going anywhere. I do bring this up to some people, if you're wondering. Someone actually super chatted and asked about, my thoughts on it. The simple version is the effort Lindsay is taking by calling people woke right is classic wokeness when they called everybody alt-right or white supremacist. It's like, if they call me a white supremacist despite being mixed race. They called Larry Elder the blackface of white supremacy. They use a blanket term to insult a large group of people of disparate races and ideologies. What they're really saying is it means bad guy. Wokeness was the cult-like adherence, and this is my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. And the idea was, don't be bad guy. What's bad guy? Well, if you're a right-winger, you're a bad guy. But we're going to call you a white supremacist if you're a right-winger or far right. James Lindsay's in the identical tactic, but he's calling it woke right because he's trying. It's an Alinsky game. Accuse your opponents, your enemies of doing what you're actually doing. He's saying woke right means bad guy, and if you defy my orthodoxy, you're a bad guy.
Awful lot of Jews on this list of Nazis. I just happened to notice that.
I know. Jack Posobiec.
yeah. And the categories are so fluid. I think you could put a lot of different people in a lot of the different categories.
I just love that Mary's on there. Sargon of Akkad. I also love that Milo didn't put Carl Benjamin. He put Sargon of
Akkad. He has Pat Buchanan up there.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Pat Buchanan.
Put him in Paleocon.
Paleocon?
Gottfried.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Pat Casey's flattered to be right under.
Pedro
Pat
Gonzalez.
And I mean, I'm not sure. I know this is a list of people that Milo, came up with, that he says that Lindsay has called woke right. But I mean, part of the thing that bothers me most about what Lindsay has kind of been doing lately is that he has such a massive blanket term, or he's been using it as this massive blanket term, and I think it is accurate to say, basically it boils down to anyone that disagrees with him, he starts calling them woke right, and it's like
Just mean girl tactics. That's it.
And it is exactly what the left was doing when you defied. So I'll put it like this, right? I'm clearly like a moderate liberal kind of guy in a lot of ways. Conservatives say Tim's not a conservative. Milo said that I defy typical political definition, and to these To the woke, I'm far right. And when people work with me, Gavin made an interesting point yesterday, and maybe he's correct. I don't know. He said, Ben Shapiro's a gateway drug, but it's people like you and me that make it okay for liberals to come and join the right. Because I'm not a suit-wearing, stodgy,
Thanks.
guy. Well, that was the point he was making. He said regular people don't want to be in suits in the office, and this traditional conservative approach is off-putting to regular people who they don't live this way, right? They don't experience that. I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but the reason why I'll tell you something fascinating. We work with people all the time. We recently started working with a new contractor who told us almost immediately they got text messages from people saying, stay away from Tim Pool, watch out for him, he's far right. And the dude was like, yeah, I've hung out with him, I've met him, none of this is correct. Why are you saying this? The reason is, Ben Shapiro, they don't need to say anything about. Ben Shapiro will tell you he's a conservative, he holds these views, he has faith in God, he's Jewish, pro-life, etc. And they're like, he's already in a different camp. But Tim Pool's a liberal guy who's going to call out all of our lies. He's dangerous. Stay away from him or else. So these people get threats that they're going to lose their sponsors, lose their job for going anywhere near me. Threats they don't get when they are seen hanging out with your run-of-the-mill conservative. I think it's because the cult is scared that there are people who will call out their lies, who are approachable by liberals. A regular liberal says, I don't want to be conservative because conservatives are bad guys. But Tim Pool's not a conservative, so what do they say? Tim Pool's far right, even though I'm not.
There's maybe an American thing as well, because you'll know this because you're kind of plugged into the UK scene. There's no young equivalent to Tim. There's no like skateboarding, beanie wearing, like t-shirt wearing guys. They're basically all like loudmouth tradcaths in suits in the pub.
Yeah, but Tommy is a working class guy. Tommy's not
that codes differently. Like he's
I know.
still in the box. He's not in your box of where there's cross pollination. He's very much in the working class populism box. There's no countercultural figure like you or Gavin, for example.
I mean, like football hooliganism's as mainstream as it gets.
Exactly.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.